By 2034, one in every 6 job openings will be a skills trade related occupation. And then when you think, what kind of roles are those?
A lot of people don't know this, that there's a big shortage of tradesmen right now.
Give me an idea of, guess, a salary range.
60,000 dollars per year. Somebody in the trades who does maybe 2 months of training and certifications and everything gets a position. So here's this 5 years and expensive degrees and going all in with projects and everything. And here's like a 18-year-old who can just start off with the same. And these guys can end up making 100,000 in like 2 years.
My guest today is Mustafa Ansari, an immigrant who discovered that some of Canada's biggest opportunities lie in the places that immigrants are often not even looking. You're packing up your bags, you're coming to Canada from Pakistan. What kind of job did you think you were going to get when you came to Canada?
I wanted to do corporate from a long time. I wanted to work in downtown Toronto.
You now are in the trades industry. Why do you think our people, our community, avoid trades?
I have no information about the trade. The only thing I hear is that, construction is like LinkedIn is going on. Somebody at my university told me that the best opportunities are in life are the ones that you're least looking at. And this is what's happened with me as well. There was this meal prep service that I used to order from. And I was like, the food's really good, but the marketing is not the best. Like, they could do so much more. I just DM'd them on Instagram. And I got a call from their founder. And he's like, I want to meet you.
On April the 2nd,
Oh, wow.
477 was CRI score. And 3,000 people got invitations to apply. Where is this demand? I feel like Mustafa. Welcome to our immigration stories as told by Canadian immigrants. I'm your host, Kristina McPherson, and this show is all about sharing the real, the raw, and the inspiring journeys of immigrants who have made Canada their home. Now, Mustafa, thank you so much for taking the time to be with us today. I do want to start off with a very, critical question that might be very people who are watching could relate to it very well. Is that you're packing up your bags, you're coming to Canada from Pakistan. What kind of job did you think you were going to get when you came to Canada?
For sure. So first of all, thank you so much, Christina, for having me on the show. And I still remember quite well the day I was packing in Pakistan, and my parents kept telling me, "Don't overpack. You don't need to take your Xbox. You don't need all these clothes. You need to buy winter clothes from there," because I'm coming from a pretty warm country. And then once I came here, in a few months, I figured out that I didn't need to bring that much stuff. So anyway, coming to Canada, I had I wanted to do corporate from a long time. I wanted to work in downtown Toronto. Toronto has always been my dream. Even when I was back home, I'd never been to Canada. I used to just Google Toronto picture, the skyline, the tall buildings, the waterfront attracted me a lot. But on a hack, I don't know, on Google, Google only shows you the summer pictures and the fall and spring. They don't show you the winter.
Right?
Yeah. So coming to downtown Toronto, I came to Canada in 2018. That dream that I had, it finally became a reality in 2023. It took a while. There was a few pivots here and there. And that's what I tell all newcomers as well, that if an opportunity comes your way, keep your doors open. You might find something better. You can always come back to your original plan and your original dream, but there might be some opportunities on the way. That's all part of the learning curve. So instead of me moving to downtown Toronto and looking for corporate jobs in downtown, I did a master's. I went to Kingston, did a master's there, worked in downtown Kingston. It's a very enriching and unique experience to live and work in a small city or town,
Right.
less than 200,000 people. Very slow and easy, quiet town. So it's a very unique experience. Super cold there, much more colder than here. So that was part of the experience. But you feel, because you always have a plan that you're going to work and live in a big city like Toronto, Montreal, Ottawa. In between, if you have an opportunity, I always say work in a small city as well. And then I moved back to Toronto in 2022 and got a job in downtown Toronto in 2023.
Okay. So you landed here as a permanent resident then, and still
Yes.
decided to go back to school. What prompted that decision?
So I had done my bachelor's from Karachi, in Pakistan. I was working in Karachi as well, but back home you always have the pressure of doing a master's. Ever
Okay.
since you're done the bachelor's, your parents want you to do
Yep.
master's. Family, everybody in my circle was doing masters, but I always wanted to do masters from overseas, get that experience. And
Okay.
the experience, I really enjoyed the masters here, because back home we used to have theories like, oh, this is what Best Buy is doing, this is their marketing strategies of Walmart. Here they said, oh, this is what Loblaws is doing, and next week we will take you to their head office in Brampton from Kingston,
Okay.
and you will
Okay.
see everything that we taught you in action. I was like, oh, this is the experience I wanted.
Yes. Yes. What was your master's in?
It was in business innovation and entrepreneurship from Queen's University.
Okay. Interesting. Okay, now you're ready to go into corporate, and it might not be what you thought it was going to be. You did see yourself working in downtown Toronto, and you did end up working there, but was it a straight line?
Lots of pivots, lots of, you know how you miss a turning on the highway and the highway
Yeah.
just makes you go all
Reroute.
over.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So it was a whole reroute.
Before we go deeper, I want to mention something important because many of the biggest barriers for international students and people looking to come to Canada who want to explore the trades, it isn't just awareness, it's access and outcomes. This episode is supported by Passage, and they provide loans for international students wanting to study skills trades in Canada. And they also go a step further by helping international students transition into job market after school. If you're a temporary resident in Canada looking to study a second program, or you're thinking about studying in Canada and considering careers in in-demand occupations like the skills trades, but you're worried about the cost and what happens after, this could be something worth exploring. You can check your eligibility for a loan supported by Passage by scanning the QR code on screen or clicking the link in the description or pinned in the first comment.
I graduated, I went back home, I came back to Canada. I was doing a teacher's assistant position and a few odd jobs here and there while I
Okay.
was looking for full time work. And then COVID hit, and I was in Kingston.
Ah.
So at that time, I was like, I don't think this is the best time to move to a big city with all the cases coming up. There wasn't any news of vaccination. And in between, while I was still applying, I was applying everywhere, like from Vancouver till Halifax, any position I
Mm.
see of marketing, I was going on. I was like, at this point, I can't be choosy. I just want some work and get the experience. So one of the important things I learned in a small city like Kingston is that networking is very important. And because it's a small city, everybody knows everyone.
Mm-hmm.
So I joined this Pakistan Association of Kingston, very small community. And then at one of the events, I met this guy who was a recruiter at Drake International, a HR recruitment firm.
Okay.
And he said, "Oh, I have a few clients who are looking for employees, and he told me that it's very rare for someone to graduate from the business school in Queens to stay in Kingston." And I was like, if you give me an opportunity to work in Kingston, I love it, like because I really like Kingston. It's a small city, very laid back. It's a 15-minute city everywhere. There's no
Mm-hmm.
traffic.
Oh, the
There's
life. Mm-hmm.
I don't think I've seen any crime in Kingston. You just feel safe and secure, and it has a really beautiful waterfront. He said, "Yeah, I'll refer you." So there was this one site where I was applying 100 jobs per week, and
Yeah.
writing cover letters, resume. My laptop was going out of memory, and then this position, I just sent in my resume, and the next minute, I had an interview call. I was like, "This is the difference between networking."
Yep.
So
Yep.
got that position. I worked in that position for around 1.5 years. Very unique experience working in downtown Kingston because it's a very small community. Everybody knows everyone, so I love that part, the
Mm.
community aspect. And
Yeah.
then once that business was sold to someone else,
Mm.
I started looking for work in Toronto, and that's when I slowly transitioned back into my original dream. But that experience really helped me out
Yeah.
getting the position I wanted.
Right, right. Okay, and then so now your original dream, I think you're thinking maybe, and a lot of people probably are thinking position, like I want to be a this, but they're not necessarily thinking what industry that this will exist in, right? We're not
Yes.
necessarily going down that rabbit hole or having that thought process going on. So you now are in the trades industry, right? But in an I guess a somewhat indirect but very direct way, which is really the discussion here is that you ended up there not necessarily because you were looking out for an opportunity within trades. And I don't think a lot of people are, like you've mentioned when we spoke in our first conversation. And why do you think that is so? Why do you think we or people or community, maybe the immigrant community, newcomer community, avoid trades?
For sure. So when I slowly, so I worked in the startup industry for a while, and a new project came at the office, and they're like, trades and trucking. There's a new industry, new program, and we need somebody in marketing to lead it. And I'm like, sure, I would like to try that challenge, because for me, I have no information about the trades or trucking when I
Right.
joined that, and I was like, I the only thing I hear is that, oh, construction is so late, like LinkedIn is going on forever. There's so many potholes on the highway. I see trades everywhere, and I see trucks everywhere. But I
Yeah.
never really thought, okay, what does it take to start a career there? It
Yeah.
was never on my horizon. I never thought about it. Everybody who I know never thought about it. And then it was like I was doing a crash course while doing marketing for it. So I was learning on the job. Okay, so what
Yeah.
does trades do?
Mm-hmm.
How come newcomers are not thinking about it? This
Mm-hmm.
pays so well. These people, they have like lavish cars, they have a high lifestyle. They're the people who shop at Yorkwell, not the startup industry.
Right.
And my uncle keeps telling me that, I call my plumber and I hear these big noises on the street, and there's a Lamborghini showing up, and this plumber comes out, he fixes my sink and everything, charges me $300 for the hour, and then just leaves. And he said, I have five more appointments. I was like, wait, these guys are earning that much back home. These guys were earning the least.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the difference between here and back home, and that's the mindset most newcomers have.
Mm-hmm.
And it's also like there's certifications and licenses, but it's also uh, a job where you have to be more hands-on.
Mm-hmm.
You have to have like strength. You need to have like broad shoulders.
Mm-hmm.
Can pick up stuff. You need to drive. You need to be on height. So there are those aspects, but with risk, there's always reward, and these positions pay really well.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And okay, so we're thinking about plumbers, and I mean, the trades has a wide range. And in fact, Ontario, I went down Ontario, the province of Ontario's website, and they have like about 144 jobs that they
Yeah.
classify under the trades. And I was like, what? Because you just said plumber. And I feel like when we say trades, I think that is the go to for a lot of people mentally, which could then have them, well, I'm not trying to be a plumber, so I'm not going to go look for that job. But then there might be supporting roles. And we're going to talk about that later on. But based on what you've seen, I mean, you work with an organization that helps people to get training and get into the trades. What do you see? Do you see a lot of misconceptions with people coming in? Like, what are those misconceptions?
For sure, and when most people think about the trade, they're like, "Oh, this person with the vest, and he's working on the construction side with his hammer and everything." But there's much more to it. Like you see this vent right above this HVAC. HVAC is very important
Mm,
in Canada because Canada is one of the few countries. Like let's suppose, few days back it was -15. Now today is
I
15
know.
degrees plus. So because of that temperature, there's a lot of work in HVAC needed because of repairs and everything.
Hmm. Hmm.
So there's a lot of work like that as well.
Hmm.
So for trades, and I like that you mentioned 144 trades. That's in Ontario. Canada has 300 different kinds, and that goes from like craft workers to so many repairs and technicians and mechanics, and it goes on and on. So the misconception is that, especially a lot of women think that the trades is not for them. But we've seen so many women coming into the industry. There's specific grants for them. There's specific programs for them to get started. And me and a few of our colleagues, we were on site at the Niagara new hospital that's being constructed,
Okay.
and they had so many women there, and we were amazed that these women are not just as a craft worker, but they're also in leadership positions, guiding all the men that this is what we have to get done. So the
Hmm.
women are getting there. The other misconceptions is that some people think that Canada has winter for like Canada does have
Ah,
winter for 6 months, but there's no work for 6 months. But that's not completely true. There's a lot of home repairs. There's a lot of
right.
indoor work that also happens. So the work continues. It does slow down a little, but there is work that keeps happening.
Yeah.
There are a lot of people who work on landscaping as well.
Mm,
So the work is more in spring, fall, and summer, but winter it keeps going. And a lot of misconceptions are around wages, and I think this comes
Mm,
from where we come from around the world, that oh, these
right.
people, they might not make that much money, but they make a decent amount. A lot of people are a bit skeptical about, okay, I might get hurt, I might,
Mm-hmm.
not have the body strength for it. But there's so many safety precautions that happen, and one thing I really like about the trades is that they have a right to refuse work
Ah,
if they think this is too dangerous for me, because
right.
the employer will always be for it, because if anything happens on site,
Is there a
they're
problem?
liable. So if somebody says this looks dangerous, they'll be like, yes, we'll have a look at it, and we'll make sure that everything is good to go.
Awesome.
So yeah, that, and the other, not a misconception, but a lot of people don't know this, that there's a big shortage of tradesmen right now. And a lot of people don't know that the current workforce kind of averages around 45 to 50-year olds, and they will eventually
Mm,
retire in the next 10 years. And this is where we're trying to get all the youth to come in,
yeah.
because we've met a lot of youth recently who say that, okay, we go to school and everything, it's not our main interest. We get it done, but we like things that are hands on, and we want to
Mm-hmm.
build something. And the youth that loves Lego loves construction. I love Lego as well.
I like that you mentioned that, actually. So talking about salary, because I remember when I was working as a project manager. So I am from, I guess now that I'm having this conversation, I'm looking back. I'm like, I was in sort of a trade industry, because my background is in architecture, project management, and I worked in construction and manufacturing. And we had welders who
Yeah.
made more money than I did with all of the degrees and all of the work that was time and all of that stuff. They made more money. And so give me an idea of like I guess a salary range. I know that the Canadian Immigrant magazine posted in demand trades and pay by province. So I mean, I'm going to pull out some data from their post, but give me an idea of like wages ranges that you know of.
For sure. So somebody just starting out, suppose they've done their apprenticeship, they're just on the, let's suppose first day on the job. So in comparison, let's suppose a person like me does 4 years of bachelor's in business, then eventually does a very expensive master's degree, and then eventually gets a marketing job that starts around 60 to $70,000 per year. Somebody in the trades who does maybe maximum 2 months of training and certifications and everything, gets a position and does great work, takes the hours, takes the initiative, can start off at the same salary.
Mm-hmm.
So here's this 5 years and expensive degrees and going all in with projects and everything. And here's like a 18-year-old who can just start off with the same. And then the growth is that, okay,
Mm-hmm.
if I start as a marketing associate, I go 1.5 year to a marketing manager, get a 10K bump, go to a manager position, director position, 10, 15 bump. These guys can go just straight up in like 2 years, because they go back for apprenticeship, they do their second apprenticeship, third, they do second certification, third certification, and they can put more and more money on their wages. And
Mm-hmm.
these guys can end up making 100,000 in like 2 years.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
The
Mm-hmm.
opportunities are limitless. And
Yeah.
so now that I learned about it, I was like, I didn't know this way before, when I should have known.
Yeah. Yeah. And you said something very important that people may not realize, and maybe some people realize now because of immigration programs tied to trades. In fact, there was a trades draw. There was a trades express entry draw. This is the first one in a while, and the first attainable one anyway. On April the 2nd. So yesterday on April the 2nd,
Oh, wow.
477 was the CRS score, and 3,000 people got invitations to apply for people who are in trades occupation in the trades category based draw. So, not like a skills trades general draw, a trades category based draw based on the list of not codes that are on the list. And so we can say that, okay, well, okay, there's a demand. And I feel like that conversation floats around in general in healthcare and education. You're like, oh, there's a demand. Where is this demand? I feel like finding those gaps or finding those where those needs are, what specific industries and where to go to get help to kind of get yourself into those is like a bridge that we need to help people build. So where are
Yeah.
they?
So I'll just give an example because I'm Toronto based. I can give an example for the Greater Toronto area.
Yeah.
The Ontario line was recently announced. Work has been doing on it. Who's doing
Okay.
the work on it? Construction workers. They're making so many multiple transit hubs. So a lot of construction there. FIFA World Cup is around the corner. They were
Ah.
upgrading the stadium. Big construction upgrade happened at the BMO field. Who did it? The construction workers. Toronto has so many highways, so many roads that keep new roads are getting made. Some of the old ones are getting repaired. All construction worker, bridges, roads. If you see Mississauga, they're making another transit line. Construction workers. So many. So there was a recent 2025 article that Toronto had the most number of cranes in all of North America.
Mhm.
And if you see the Toronto downtown skyline, if you just go to the island and see the skyline, you'll see so many cranes all across. And so much construction is happening. Even though immigration right now has been paused or going down, they're still building a lot of homes. They're building a lot of parks. So if there's this new area in Toronto that I'm very interested in, it's called
Mm.
the Waterfront Toronto. It's a
Yeah.
bit west side near Polson Pier. They're making a whole new area. So many buildings are popping up. They've
Okay.
made a park already. Construction workers, and now I think just recently, Doug Ford announced that they want to extend the runway at Billy Bishop Airport, the city airport. So
Okay.
construction. So many demand, and I'll give an local example. These are like more high level stuff. So one of our training coordinator, he also owns a construction company,
Okay.
and he said that let's suppose you're in a neighborhood in Whitby, Ajax, for example, and you're just in your neighborhood, and you can see in everyone's front yard, their garage, that who has a 4x4 Ford 150 parked. And if someone has that and has some wood coming out of it or nearby, that this person works in construction.
Mm.
So our training coordinator, he lives in Scarborough, and he said, some kids just came by to me and he said, you work in construction? And he said, yes. They said, I want to learn about it. Can I shadow you for a week, or can I just, if you need any extra help, I'm like strongly built and everything. So he said, these are kids from my neighborhood. It reminds me of the time when I was looking for a job. I give them a shot, and then one of
Yeah.
them still works with him till now.
Nice.
Because it's all about outreach. It's all about
Hmm.
asking where what information I can get. And the tradespeople, they're very proud of their work,
Yeah.
because he, like, a lot of great people I've met, and let's suppose I'm in the car with them. They're like, see that building? I had a work. I
I
worked on
know. I'm like that actually.
it. And so the hospital, going back to the Niagara hospital that we were working, doing some marketing around. So one of the women that we met, she said that I was with my mom at this hospital, and we were just going to the washroom, and we went there in one of the hospitals, and she said, "Oh, mom, you see the sink and everything that's over here? I put that there." So that's like it's a proud moment for everyone who works in construction, that showing to your kids or your friend, the family, that bridge I worked on, that road
I
I
know.
worked on is now like a pillar.
I know. I love that. Actually, so I do that when I'm in downtown Toronto because I've worked on a lot of the high-rise buildings in downtown Toronto,
Oh,
and I'm
nice.
like, oh yeah, I worked on this one. I'm like, oh, where is this? Oh, like, yeah. You know that
Yeah,
those M City. You know M City in Mississauga, zigzag.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I
The
worked
new
on M
ones.
City.
Yeah.
I worked on M City.
Oh,
See,
wow.
see,
Wow.
plug. um, so, I mean, it sounds like, of course, we're talking about the hands-on work and the skills trades and all that stuff. And you don't work in a hands-on work context, right? Which means that, of course, now the conversation, we're expanding the conversation. So people don't necessarily think in a bubble or think about trades or do exactly what we're talking about, misconceptions about what trade occupations are, because there are adjacent roles. Like for every construction team, there are project managers, there are project coordinators, there are marketing people for depending on the company, right? There are people who have to deal with accounting within construction or trade based or trade related companies. There's so many adjacent roles, and there's a stat I found on the province of Ontario that by 2034, one in every six job openings will be a skills trade related occupation, which I think
Yeah.
is like ding, ding, ding. And then when you think, and this is why I went down the list of trade based occupations in Ontario, because I was like, oh, what kind of roles are those? And I'm going to bring those up because I think that when people think trades, they're thinking linearly, right? And they think that they're going to work with their hands forever. And even if it starts there, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to continue in that direction forever. So you are a perfect example of that. So tell me, I think you've said a little bit about it before, but you didn't become a truck driver, you didn't become a welder. Tell me more about like your role, and even the people that you work around, because you work in an office, right? And you support the trade industry. Tell me a little bit about your role and like any like adjacent trade based roles.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And I like that you mentioned that, some people, they think that, I'll be working in the trades with my hand on forever. But we've seen so many people, especially the directors and vice presidents, they
Mm.
all started as a tradesperson because
Mhm.
they always say that you need to earn the respect of
Yeah, yeah,
your
yeah.
tradesmen, and you'll only earn that if they've seen you do the same work. And a lot of them right now, they work in safety. Safety is a very important part of the trades right now. So we've done a lot of informational sessions where we, bring in guest speakers, and the
Mm.
guest speakers, they always say that, we started on the ground as a craft worker,
Right.
slowly, there were opportunities, we took lead, we took initiative, and we know now we're at director, and now we sit in an office. Sometimes, if we need, we go back. Sometimes they miss it and they go back, but they're like in the office now.
Mm-hmm.
So for us at TBDC, like we have a very small team, but we have a lot of trainers that
Mm-hmm.
come and they do safety at height. Even I have done the safety at heights training,
Mm-hmm.
and it's very interesting because I'm sure like a lot of your listeners, they see construction back home, and people are just wearing slippers, wearing that traditional clothes, and just at the top of a building putting something in. But here it's
Mm-hmm.
very important that safety is a big part of it. Everyone's
Yeah.
wearing a vest, everyone's wearing a hard hat,
Mm-hmm.
glasses, gloves, and their safety working at heights. They're always tucked on their back, so that if they slip or anything, they're always safe.
Yeah.
So regarding that trades, I have only been on site once, and it was a very interesting experience because I didn't know it has to start at 6 a.m. And I was like, whoa, that's too early for me.
It's
That's
intense.
too early. So we reached there by 6:15. We were late for this safety orientation, but anyway, we participated. So every morning there's a safety orientation,
Mm.
which I really like. That okay,
Yeah. Toolkit
everyone's
meeting. Yeah. 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 Yeah.
yeah, in the morning, and then everybody goes on site, and everybody does their own work. They report to each other. They take a
Mm-hmm.
lunch break together, then they go back. It's I think they started at like 6 and they ended up at 4 o'clock. They
Mm.
still had the whole day. They were pretty happy. They always feel like we've accomplished something, and this is something. Once one of them told me, he said, at the end of your day, do you feel like you achieved something really good today? And I was like, sometimes maybe. He's like,
Mm.
we feel that every day, the
Yeah.
sense of accomplishment. And I was like,
Accomplishment.
oh,
I know. And that's helpful when you're building things, right? Like when it's finished, it's finished. You turn that last screw, it's done, and there's like a check mark. Whereas, or
yeah,
administrative work can sometimes feel invisible or never
yeah.
ending. Even the so I was from the fall protection industry, right? So I
Oh,
worked in fall protection, building maintenance, and window cleaning, which is not even when I studied architecture. We didn't think about how is somebody going to get to the top of that building up there. Like that's not something that we
yeah.
covered, you know. How are we going to protect somebody from falling off of the roof? And I say this just to explain to people that sometimes there are these niche but big ni- I guess organizations within industries that exist because they are in the building code. And I think that you spoke about like
Mm,
safety and all that stuff. When things are in the building code, they have to happen. And so that industry has a lot of opportunity, almost endless. Not every company will do well, not every company will thrive, but they will do well because they are a necessity, kind of like healthcare. Like people have to have fall protection not to fall off roofs. They have to be able to get to the top of MCT, right? Or Transit City or any one of them. And that's not an industry that I knew existed. And I think through networking, like you just spoke about, is where you're gonna find that because you learned about this position through the recruiter, right? The recruiters who kind of put you into this position. Is that right?
Oh, so this position, so originally, a bit of
Yes, how did
backstory.
you get into trades? Yeah.
Yeah. So when I was in Kingston, I was always part of the startup industry,
Yeah.
and I was always, interested in startup incubators, entrepreneurs coming from overseas. There was a startup visa program. Government of Canada said that, we have a lot of immigrants right now. We want immigrants to come in and bring their business with them. So they launch that business, they create some economic activity, they hire local people, and we'll give permanent residency in exchange for that. And you have to be part of some incubator. So
Mm-hmm.
I worked in an incubator in Kingston, and eventually I worked in an incubator in Toronto, and that's
Okay.
the Toronto Business Development Center, very old incubator from 1990. So that incubator still to date has a lot of foreign entrepreneurs coming from Europe, from Asia, from all over, but they also have a local workforce development program, which
Mm-hmm.
is about trades. And I knew about that program, but I never really did more research about it. I was like, okay, they have a separate team, they're running it. And then slowly, as I progressed in the company, I saw the impact that team was making, because that impact that they made was like right in front of us. They were training people.
Right.
They had partnerships with lots of local nonprofits, lots of youth organizations, while our work was more towards getting entrepreneurs from overseas and marketing overseas. So eventually, when we got the trucking program, they wanted a dedicated marketing resource to look over the marketing for
Mm-hmm.
both the programs. And when they asked me, I was like, because in my head and all the research I've done so far about the trades and trucking, their marketing is very old school, brick and
Ah.
mortar, newspapers. And I was like, wait, what
Mm-hmm.
what is this industry doing? And the startup industry is like booming, innovation. This is way before the AI era.
Mm-hmm.
So they said, yeah, if you do something creative over here, the industry would love it. And if you see our website right now, it's called explore skilledtraits.com.
Okay.
So I play a lot of video games, and I was like, how you choose a character in, let's suppose, Counter Strike or any Call of Duty, and
Mm-hmm.
this.
Mm-hmm.
Let's suppose you want this character, he comes with this weapons and all that. So I made the exact same scenario for somebody choosing a career. Let's suppose he wants to be a carpenter. This person pops up with wood and everything.
Cool.
If you want to be a plumber, so we did all those creativity, and then the industry like really enjoyed something, some a fresh perspective, and
Yeah.
that's what I think. That's what we still are working towards, to get a lot of word around about the industry. And that's how I ended up in the trades. And then once I saw that this industry is so welcoming, they're like so happy to have new people join in, and they are actually like, if you go to any of the event, they're like yelling that we want more people to join this industry. We want the youth to at least
Mm-hmm.
explore it. It's We all know that not everything is for everyone. Some
Yeah.
people might think that this is not for me,
Mm-hmm.
but at least there's some people it might be, and it's just that some people don't know about it yet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. And since you say that, like people don't know about it yet, let us I'm going to just kind of list out a couple of adjacent roles. If you're thinking that the hands-on thing is not for you, there's marketing, that's what you do, right? There's operations, that's kind of what I did. I did operations management, project management, and I managed the people who did the drawings for stuff for the tradespeople to
Mhm.
execute, right? There's dispatch, right, and delivery. There is customer service, right? There's HR and recruiting, because I'm sure that you have an HR department or an HR person or some, right? There is
Yeah.
safety, right? There's the people who train the safety. There's safety managers. There's a safety manager, construction manager too. Project management. There's training in all sense of the scope of things. There's workforce development, and there's technology, VR. You just said that you guys had to do a website. Somebody had to do that website, right?
Yeah.
So it's all it's a web of potential there within the industry that is a growing industry. With what we just said, 1 in 6 job openings by 2034 will be in skills trades. I actually want to pull up the Ontario, because I was a little bit, this was shocking for me. I don't know if it'll be shocking for anybody else, but I'll do it anyway. And they have a whole thing here. Of course, you have painters, you have the ones that you can think of, but then there's some in education that there's a technician, right? There's some that people aren't necessarily thinking about as a trade per se. I'm sure I saw some of those. Construction craft worker, um, Let's
Yeah.
see.
Even a hairstylist is considered
Yes,
part of a trade.
hairstylist, educational assistant. See? So they're like people should go on this website, check it out. Go on even the website that you mentioned, that will of course link in the description below and everything, to check out like what are these trade occupations anywhere and where to find them. And I think an indirect tip that I can give to people is that if you find the the occupation, then you go find a company that focuses on that, like a HVAC company or whatever, and then see what roles that are existent in them. Because I think that if you're in HR, you're in HR. It doesn't matter. I don't think. I don't know anyway. But that's your homework. And I think you just mentioned a lot of people who move up the rank into the directors and such were in the field once, so then that unlocks other opportunities, supervisory positions, safety manager, operations manager, business owner, and corporate
Yeah.
roles. That, yeah, I think that it's a whole web. And hopefully, if anybody is having like a light bulb moment from watching this, drop a light bulb in the comment section below. Like bling, okay. Go look for that stuff. So like you said, it's not a great fit for everybody. And I love that you brought up the whole woman situation, because I was actually gonna ask that question. There is I found on the website, and I don't know if all the colleges do it, maybe you can shed some light on it, a Jill of all trades. Do you
Hmm.
know about
Yeah.
that?
Yeah.
Can you tell me a little bit
Yes.
more about what that whole is?
Yeah.
Is it an organization? Is it a college? What is it?
I've attended some of the events, so it's more women-focused events, and that's just one institute. But there are lots of institutes and organizations all over Ontario in specific that have specific women programs.
Mm-hmm.
There are even construction sites that have a specific women team that work on it as well.
Mm,
And we feel, especially in the industry, is that, let's suppose if you're trying to recruit women, it's best for women speakers to come and share their experience on how they like it. There's also there's a new show about skilled trades. I think it's called The Trades. It was on Crave. That it's Canadian. It's based in Halifax. So
okay.
I was very excited to see watch that show as well. That's also focused towards women getting into the skilled trades.
What's the show called?
I think it was called The Trades.
Okay.
I will check and send that to you. It was very interesting. It's also because it was in Halifax.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
um, there are a lot of if I switch more towards the trucking industry, they have specific women in waste management as well. That's more focused towards all the recycling that happens and all the garbage pickup. They have specific program for women that come through. They have specific grants. They have a different training style. It's and some of there's another company called Muscat Transport. They provide a grant to a woman every year to pay for her training and licensing.
Okay.
So there
Nice.
are new programs coming for women every few months.
Nice, nice, nice. And I think that people have to kind of just figure out what's for them, what's not for them, and kind of just not exclude themselves from the opportunity because they think it's one thing, they think it's hands on.
Mm.
For example, and I wanted to pull up one more thing here. So for yesterday, I mentioned was an express entry draw for skills trades, just to get people, I mean, just thinking along this line, because a lot of my viewers are temporary residents looking for permanent residency. And in the express entry category based selection, right, if you choose trades occupations, there is a whole list. I'm going to just make it the whole list. It's not like a million, but there are some of them are estimators. See, this is somebody who is doing the what is going to cost, the quantities and such, construction managers, building and renovation managers. So and there are the welders. Oops. There are the welders and related machine operation owners. So there are the hands-on people, but there are also the folks that who may want to be in an office environment, who doesn't want to weather the cold. Because even though things slow down, like you said, it doesn't necessarily stop, right? So there are opportunities there that I think that people should think about and consider when it comes to the trades, and not limit themselves. um, I feel like and I'm not sure if you mentioned this before when we were talking about things that uh, immigrants may misunderstand about the trades, but I don't know if you've had any experience with anybody coming through the programs there or peers or something where not looking in this direction may have been like an ego play. And are we chasing titles, or does it even matter? Like, I don't know if you can shed some light on that, or your experience about that.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And me included. The Canadian dream is,
Yeah.
working in a cubicle. I don't know, for some reason. I always had that dream, working in a cubicle, wearing, a shirt and a suit, and, having meetings and, making marketing decisions. And there's a, whiteboard in the back, and you're making strategies. That's the Canadian dream that everybody comes to Canada with. But unfortunately, there's always a reality check, and Canada humbles you really fast that, your dreams, they kind of change the minute you land in Canada. You see the situation, you see, okay, you have to go with the flow, you have to see what's working for you. That dream might come back later on, but for now, you need to make ends meet. You have rent to pay, you have expenses, and you have to see what's growing here. When I was back home in Pakistan, there were very few, I would say, industries that everybody was going into, and the concept of odd jobs wasn't really there back home. So here, when you come in, you see there's so many odd job opportunities, and I've seen a lot of construction people. They start off working part time or just working project based, and
Right.
eventually they kind of enjoy working outside in the open, working hands on, and they convert that into full time.
Mm-hmm.
So when everybody comes, we've done sessions with a lot of newcomers, and
Okay.
they come in and they're like, we want a corporate job.
Mm-hmm.
This is our experience from back home, and
Mm-hmm.
this is what we want to do. But right now, there aren't that many positions open, and some of them, they don't have. Uh, they're competing with a lot of people who have a lot of Canadian experience right now, and they have industry connections as well. So the open positions are very less, and then you're competing with a lot of experienced people.
Mm-hmm.
So, but industries like trucking and skilled trades, they like to give opportunity to newcomers because it's like an investment for them,
Mm-hmm.
because they know, let's suppose somebody who's graduate out of college comes into, let's suppose, a trucking position. They know this person has the capacity to run the truck for like 20-30 years and get a lot of work done. And a lot of recycling companies right now, they have this entry level position where you come in, they train you, and because also they also want somebody new so that they can train them the way they have the training. And this is one thing that a lot of employers have told us, that newcomers need to come and unlearn a lot of things that they have
Mm-hmm.
from back home, because
Mm-hmm.
things work in a very different way here. And once that's done, they can do. And regarding one point, I want to say before, so there's this trucking, he's an immigrant entrepreneur who now has a trucking company, and he's so proud of the trucking work and the trucking industry that, let's suppose, he has a new client. He's like old now, around maybe 60, close to retirement. Let's say once he has a new client, and the company has to drop a load to their shipment, whatever, he's the one who goes back into the truck, drives the truck there as the first shipment that goes there, because he's so proud of this industry and the
Mm.
work that his company does.
Yeah. 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 I like that. And I think that what may be missing in the idea of the Canadian dream is the illusion of there. So that they say that, okay, I want the corner, the desk job, the corner office, the suit, the tie, and all that stuff. But does that equate to the kind of money that you're looking to make? Because sometimes just that optics of what that job looks like, it looks like you're making a lot of money, but you could be making the same or more in within the industry. And like we said, it's not always going to be the hands-on work. So I think that, if anybody's holding on to status from home, like you said, Canada will humble you. Canada will humble you real quick. And it's not necessarily that your dream cannot be realized. I think I don't know that the dream was specific enough, right? It was very high level. It was 10,000 foot. It was like in an office. Okay, where is that office? I worked in an office. I never thought I would work in the industry that I worked into. But because I never knew it existed, right? So sometimes because you don't
Yeah.
know what you don't know, therefore you can make different decisions and have, be flexible to, shifting that idea of success or status or rich. You said
Yeah,
the plumber
yeah.
was driving a Lamborghini, right?
Exactly. And the industries are changing so fast. Like a few years ago, I didn't know anything about virtual reality. The metaverse came and went. A lot of people make good money out of it. Now those people are making money out of AI.
Hmm.
So things change all the time.
Yeah.
Your plan changes, but I've also known people who come to Canada with the dream of working in that corner office. They went into the trades. Eventually they grew up in positions. They became
Hmm.
director of safety, and
Hmm.
now they are back in the corner office with a suit and tie.
Hmm.
But it was just a different path
A
to
pathway.
getting there.
Hmm. 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 Yes, yes. And if I may shift the mindset of, instead of chasing a title, chase income.
Yeah.
Right? Chase the income, that's the titles can't pay bills. You know what I mean? So what I mean, you did, I think you just answered my next question about what success could look like for immigrants, and you just spoke about being able to climb the ladder, being able to take a different indirect route. Your route was indirect, right? And here you are, and of course there's room to grow for you within what you do right now. And I really appreciate, like, even the work that you're doing to kind of reach out to these, I guess, new ways of outreach, helping people to
Yeah.
understand skills trades. There's work there to be done. There are jobs there to be filled, and people should consider it. Um, and I don't think that uh, or immigrant community, that we should think about prestige. We should think about stability. And is there a stability within an industry that is ever growing, right? And there is a demand that each province may dictate, right? Um, if you were to give advice to a newcomer, wherever stage they're at right now, about their first career move in Canada, what would it be?
So, I mean, if I even just gave a career advice to myself maybe 8 years ago, let's suppose me or somebody has just landed at Pearson International, bag full, an extra Xbox for no reason, and
Yeah.
extra clothes and everything. So I would say that somebody at my university told me that the best opportunities are in life are the ones that you're least looking at, and as soon as you get something, take the most out of it. And this is what's happened with me as well.
Hmm.
Like, I would give you an example. For one of the jobs I did was, uh, there was this meal prep service that I used to order from. They were Ontario wide, and I was like, their food's really good, but their marketing is not the best. Like, they could do so much more.
Mm.
So one day I was just, bored, and I got their newsletter. I was like, I don't know what these guys are doing. I made them like a whole point, like, I made a whole paragraph. I just DM'd them on Instagram, and they just sent me a message that, oh, can we get your phone number? I was like, sure, why not? And I got a call from their founder, and he's like, I want to meet you. I was like, okay.
Mm.
And I was like, well, I live in Kingston. He's like, are you coming to Toronto anytime? So I was like, yeah, I'll come in like 2 weeks. He's like, wherever you want to meet, I'll meet you. I was like, okay, sure. I'm gonna go to the mall, and I like going to Dundas Square and look at it. He said, okay, I'll come meet you at Dundas Square. So this founder CEO just comes in the middle of the day, meets me there. He's like, the points you made are very accurate, and we would love for you to come and join and implement all the points that you just told us. I was like, sure. And that's how I got one of the jobs after my Kingston to come to Toronto. So I would say outreach is very important for a newcomer. Outreach, networking, and being outside your comfort zone. So for
Yeah.
me, I used to go to an event with my friend in Kingston all the time. So many networking events, but I had like a cushion. Like, my friend was a cushion. Like, if I am not want to meet people around, not don't want to mingle, I come back to him, and we both will end up just meeting two people and just go back. And then one day he couldn't make it, so I went to this event alone,
Hmm.
and I have like 10 business cards of myself, and I'm like, okay, I know nobody here. And I ended up meeting everybody because I didn't have a cushion friend, so I wasn't coming back to mingle with them. I just met everyone. I collected like 20, 30 business cards. My LinkedIn was growing, and I made a lot of connections. So ever since that day, I tried to go to all the events alone.
Mm-hmm.
And this is like the most difficult part. And I feel like for every newcomer, they have doubt. They're like, oh, my English is not the best. Some people might not understand it. It's like you have to still give it a shot. You have to still work on it. That's how you learn and improve. And I got to know while networking that I misspelled a lot of words, and they're just a different pronunciation back home, different pronunciation here. And that's how you learn. And Canadians are very kind, so they'll help you out. And they're like, oh, you're into this, oh, you should meet that person in this room, he does this and that. And eventually you can meet a lot of people, might get some side gigs as well. The other advice I would give, and this is something I've done in my life as well, is
Mm-hmm.
that my when I came to Canada, my resume was empty. Like
Yeah.
it had experience from Pakistan, but people like, we don't know, we can't verify. So one of my mentors, he said, okay, why don't you, because you have summer off and you're working these odd jobs, but if you have time, volunteer at a few organizations here. They're always
Mm-hmm.
looking for volunteer, food banks, non-profits. And I was like, oh, I love giving back, something I've done back home. I would love to be part. I grew my network 5x over there because I went in there. Everybody was so happy. Everybody was like, okay, you're giving us your time. Here's a reference letter from me. Here's a gift card from me. Let's go out after, have get some coffee and this and that. And there were a lot of old people. They're like, I would love to give you, my time, and if I would love to share my experience, how I got things done. And that grew my network so fast.
Yeah.
And in your resume, you don't have to write that you are a volunteer. You can just write, I was just a general manager of a store. They
Mm-hmm.
won't say that you volunteered. So I know for some immigrants, making money is very important, but
Yeah.
it's like an investment you do on yourself that
Mm-hmm.
will give you much more dividends. So that grew my network a lot in Kingston, and that helped me a lot. And then as soon as those nonprofits and charities had some funding coming in, the first person to think about is
It's
you,
you.
because they're like, this person's already worked with us. Now we
Mm-hmm.
have some budget. Let's give
Mm-hmm.
him the budget and he can run things because he already has the experience. So that really helped me. And every where I am today, I feel like every position I've done in the past has played some part in it.
Awesome. Awesome. And I love that. Every time networking conversation comes in and it comes in organically, I appreciate you for bringing it up. This was not pre planned. And I love that you mentioned that was a very good tip there. And it's what I try to encourage people to do. Yes, you can go with a friend, split up. When you get there, split up. You guys can meet twice the amount of people at the event if you cover ground separately. You guys can chat in the car, chat when you go home. I just went to a networking event with somebody that I know. I'm like, yeah, I know you. Good job. You go find somebody else to know. I'm going to find somebody else to know. You know what I mean? Don't hang out with your friends or your husband or your wife or your spouse. Not when you're at a networking event. Go meet strangers and then come back together and discuss the strangers that you met. If we wanted to like send somebody off with some practical tips for next steps, right? So now they've heard this conversation, they're like, oh, I can. Where's like one place that it could probably research what kind of opportunities might exist or what options might exist, and even for the tradespeople? I know you mentioned TBDC, TCDB, T
TBDC, yes.
TBDC. I said that right. Okay. But what to research? Where can people look?
For sure. And for opportunity specific in the trades, it's not, it's all over.
Yeah.
And what I personally feel in Ontario and Canada is that only like 20-30% of the jobs that are actually out there are listed online.
Yeah.
Most of the positions you just get through referrals, or they're just, looking in-house.
Mm,
But the 20% that are available, you can check them on Indeed. You can check them on some Skill Trades Ontario's website, Skills Ontario. Uh, and even if you just Google, especially now with AI, you can just be like, okay, in Scarborough, what positions are open? So the ones that would be advertised would be online, but most of them, you have to knock on doors, you have to go to their offices, you have to go see who has a big truck in the front in your neighborhood
mm-hmm.
and around that. And in terms of events, you can see them all over in LinkedIn.
Mm-hmm.
These days, I've seen job postings even on TikTok, on
Mm-hmm.
Instagram. They're just posted everywhere. I've gotten a lot of work through Instagram as well. I just DM people, I show them this is my portfolio, and I'll share another example. There was this company, it was a remittance company. It was doing a lot of outreach in Toronto, and they were reaching out to all these Toronto-based influencers, and I was like, these influencers, they might have a very diverse audience, but like for me, I have a big Pakistani network here. So I just reached out to their page. Now their page is like their head page that has multiple countries, has 1,000 followers. I was like, might as well, what's the worst that's going to happen? They might not read my message, or they might say no. I'm so used to hearing no anyway.
Yeah.
So in like every 15 no's, there's always one yes, and that one yes is worth much more. So
Hmm.
they sent me a message, oh, reach out to this email address. I was like, okay, I will do that. I sent him an email, and he said, let's hop on a meeting when you're free. And I was like, sure. I was like, this is getting too much for like just a video. I just wanted to make a video. This is getting too much. I was like, fine, I'll do a 30-minute video, 30-minute video chat. And I go in, and there's this person who's saying he's based out of London, UK, and he's talking to me, and he's just asking me a lot of questions which are not related to the video that I want to make, just for my followers. And he's saying, do you go to events in downtown? Do you have a network here? What kind of associations are you part of? And then he sends me a link, and he says, do you see this LinkedIn posting that's looking for brand ambassador in
Mm.
Toronto? And I was like, yeah. And I said, I also see 200 people have applied to it. He's like, yeah, but I don't have time to look over the 200 people.
Uh-huh.
I saw your profile. It fits really well. If you want the position, it's like a monthly wage and then commission on top. And I'll give you a budget to do some events, run some ads and everything. And this is going to save me a lot of time. It's going to help you get another source of income. And let me know if you want to. You're going to be our eyes in Canada. I was like, what? Such a big position just from one message reach out. And then I worked in that position for 2.5 years on the side. And that really helped
Mm.
me get another source of income. And then an interesting story. So he's London based. He wanted to apply for another job, and I was his referral interview. So I did a whole interview for him. And when he went to the new position, it was similar company. He got me a contract position there as well. So from that one message, from that
Mhm.
one DM,
Mhm.
it went all the way, and it was that one DM out of 100 DMs that I've done. So you just need to have that hope that the possibilities are limitless. Could
Yeah.
be anything.
Yes, I love that. I love that. Yes, dare to be bold, dare to be okay with no, dare to be like just persistent until you get that yes, because sometimes it's just a numbers game. But you were strategic about it, right? You added value, you brought value. So don't just like throw around resumes. Like that was a strategic slide in, and I love that story. I love those stories. Yeah, you can follow Mustafa on LinkedIn. He's over there on LinkedIn, Mustafa Ansari. Everything will come up on screen and be linked in the description below. I think that part of the message here is that smart immigrants don't chase titles, chase opportunity, and there are opportunities in the places that you are not necessarily looking. So, if you gained value from this video, I want you to hit that like button, subscribe to this YouTube channel, check out Mustafa's LinkedIn profile, and of course, stick around for the next video. I don't know if you have any final words for the people, but I think that you ended on a really good note there. I'll give you that. I'll hand the mic over real quick if you had any last words.
Be bold, be brave, do as much outreach as you can, and think that in your head you run Toronto.
Woohoo! There you go. There you go. On top of the world. Thank you so much for
Yeah.
watching. Remember, like, share, subscribe, and I will see you in the next video.